What is up, my good vibe DJs and music lovers alike? Thank you so much for joining me here on the DJ Spotlight on Disc Jockey News TV. You've probably already heard me talk about this amazing human in previous episodes. This next guest have over a couple decades of experience in the DJ scene. Yes, back when vinyl was still a thing. As a traveling DJ, promoter, husband, and father of twins, he's got some wicked stories and insight into the industry. A few years back, he moved from Niagara Falls over to Winnipeg and has been a driving force in our local scene of positivity, drive, and passion. Today, I'm talking to your mom's favorite DJ and my friend, Mark Grimace. Mark, thank you so much for joining us today. We really appreciate it.
Hi, Dar.
Hello.
This is cool. I mean, we talk a lot face to face. This is sort of neat, right? I can see you, you can see me, and we don't have to worry about our houses being messy.
Exactly. You don't know what's going on the floor.
Exactly. No, I'm just waiting for Maddox to come cruising in.
Yeah. We'll all know. So the cool thing is I've actually mentioned you on multiple interviews before, like my friend Mark Grimace this and my friend Mark Grimace that. So I'm so stoked that we get to talk to you and get some insight because I know you've been DJing for
a long
30 years.
Yeah.
Everybody.
It is pretty crazy to think about that. It's the majority of my life at this point, right?
Yeah, and you just celebrated 25 years of raving.
Yes, shout out to the one they call King Jax. 25 years ago this New Year's Eve, he bugged me for 6 months, said, dude, you're a DJ, you love this music, you need to come to these rave things. And I said, no, I wasn't going to go. And then it's just the old story, right? I broke up with a girl, needed a change, and I was like, all right, New Year's Eve, let's go. And I walked into a warehouse as Chris Shepard took the decks at midnight, and it's been nonstop ever since. I haven't looked back, to be honest with you.
I love it.
It's kind of neat to be able to say 25 years ago. But yeah, but I actually started DJing when I was 14 years old. I started getting paid. I'm going to date myself here. That was 1987. So yeah, it's been a long haul, but I've loved every second of it. I'll never stop.
Yeah. Can you tell us about that experience? How it led you to where you are today?
Well, I think, I could tell you the first time I remember being at a high school dance and being horribly shy. And anybody that knows me now will laugh at that, but I was horribly shy and I didn't know how to talk to girls. And I remember being at my first high school dance and sitting there and watching the DJ. His name was Adam Hendershot. And we're still friends to this day, and going, wait a minute, they all want to talk to him. I don't have to go talk to the girls. If I'm doing what he's doing, the girls will come talk to me. So, I mean, I'm a happily married man for a long time. I've got kids, but I've never shied away from the fact that I started doing this for girls. I mean, I started doing this to make girls dance. And I guess part of me is still doing it to make girls dance, just everybody at this point, right? But yeah, and then I got to know him. It was like, okay, I need to know what this guy's doing. I need to know how he's doing it and all that. And it turns out he was my friend's neighbor. And I started doing high school dances with him. And then he couldn't make it he was DJing between bands at a place called the Plantation in Niagara Falls. That's where I'm from originally. And he started DJing between bands, and he couldn't make it one night. So he called me up. He's like, dude, you're 18. You can do this. And I went there, and well, that was it. I was like, okay, this is it. I'm good now. I know what I want to do for forever, and here I am 30 years later, and I'm still just as passionate about it, and I still love it just as much. But the rave thing was more, it was just sort of an evolution in what I was doing. I wasn't very good. I was just a guy that was playing music at that point. And then I went and was like, well, I'm pretty good. I'm as good as some of these guys. I want to do this. And I think I went to my first rave on New Year's Eve, and I played my first rave in February. So it was like, boom, right off the bat, hit the ground running, went and bought a bunch of rave records, and yeah, and that was it. And shout out to Ryan Kruger and the Destiny family, who, if you know drum and bass, you know Destiny. But really, the reality is that Destiny in 1995, 94 started off as a trance and house company. And that's where guys like myself and Jello and Rob G and the Flip Side, so many of us got our starts at those Destiny Friday warehouse parties.
Oh, man. And
Sorry, I'm rambling on.
Oh, no, that's great. No, that kind of leads me into the next question, because you have a lot of experience traveling as a DJ as well. Yeah,
in the beginning, not so much now. I've got two 5-year-old, 6-year-old soon, right? 6-year-old twins that make me not really want to be away from home, to be honest with you. But yeah, in the beginning, yeah, I did. I traveled a lot, and I mean, it's different now, right? I mean, I told a story recently about Sydney Flashback and I, the first time we came here to Winnipeg, standing at the luggage rack, and his record's not coming down. I mean, you don't have to worry about that now, right? Your memory sticks in your pocket, but his records got sent to Victoria, and then the airline brought him to the gig, literally to the gig at like 10 o'clock at night the next night. So yeah, I traveled a lot. I got to play some amazing places all around North America. I got to play in Scotland, but yeah, I'm older now. I'm happier playing at home, to be honest with you. And contributing to my local scene more so than going out to do it. I mean, don't get me wrong, I'll still play. But it's not the long trips away from home for weeks at a time now, where it's like a one shot, 2-3 days, and I got to get back to playing Legos and Star Wars and stuff when I get back here.
Yeah, back to business.
Back to the business at hand. Excuse me.
I think a lot of DJs can relate to that, though. Like a lot of traveling DJs that did it for like weeks on end, and then they start building families, and then they start getting more comfortable at home. They're like, okay, look, I will go DJ, but I'm only DJing for a few days, and then I got to get back to the fam jam. Yeah,
a great example is a buddy of mine, Carlo Leo, which everybody's heard of, who recently had his first kid. And if you follow him on Instagram, you see that he's home way more now than he ever used to be. And this is a guy that plays all over the world. And it's inspiring to see that, because it's not an easy balance to have, to be able to have that. Your art is what I call the DJing thing, your art and your family, and to get that balance isn't easy. I know it isn't.
How do you feel that, can you explain how you're doing that? Because I know like you're very involved within our local industry, but you still have the full-time job and the family and the kids. So how are you balancing all of that and still finding time to be a promoter and a DJ?
Sometimes I don't know, but to be honest with you, prioritization is a big one, and support. I mean, I have an incredible wife who met me well into my DJ career and respects my art and respects my passion, and that this has been a huge part of my life, my whole life. My children share my passion for music. So, we're, we're developing a couple of DJs here. So Daddy doesn't have to go out at night. I'll send them up to play the gigs. But I think a lot of it is learning to say no. I think would be a big one. Is a lot of DJs, artists in general. It's yes. I'll do anything. I'll play anywhere. And there's a point in your life where that's okay. But there's also a point in your life where you've got to reel that back in. And it's funny. I had a conversation with J-Rock or J-Funk from Footwork 2 nights ago, and I said, this year for me is a little bit more about quality over quantity, where I don't want to play every weekend, but the parties I want to play, I'm going to be very picky and choosy about and make sure that the right ones. Part of that is that I've taken on a responsibility with one of the festivals locally, and I want to be able to give that the 100% effort that it deserves. And if what that sort of requires is me to kind of back off on a couple other things, and I'm okay with that. It's keeping all the parts of your life sort of happy at the same time, right? And like I said, the big one is being able to say no to things in both directions too. Sometimes I have to say, hey, family, Daddy's going to be tired tomorrow morning, but I've got to deal with my wife that I encourage anybody with children that DJs late night to do. The deal is one never affects the other. So if I come home at 7 o'clock in the morning from playing a 6-hour set at Underground Revival and my kids want to play Legos, guess what? You're going to play Legos. So you're going to tough it out. You're going to take that hit, and you're going to, and your family will be better because of it. You might be a little bit tired, but your family will be better because of it.
Oh, that's so powerful. And I'm glad that you acknowledge that, because I think there are a lot of people out there that make excuses, whether it is the 9-to-5 job or the DJing gig. Oh, Daddy's tired. We got to let Daddy sleep. And it's like, well, yeah, like sleep is important, but how long is that going to be an excuse before like you get to hang out with your parents?
Absolutely. And the last thing I would want my children remembering about this time in their life was that Daddy was always away DJing. They can remember that, but they're going to remember that Daddy was always there for them too, right? And as I said, it's not easy sometimes, and you need that supportive partner that is And I'm not just saying that because she just walked in the room over there. You need that supportive partner that is willing to make sacrifices for you, because it's, you know, it's when it's you by yourself. Like, I remember when I would tour, I had a cat. That was my biggest responsibility. I had to make sure somebody fed my cat. Now it's like, okay, there's logistics to this. If I'm going to go away for a weekend, who's going to do this and who's going to take care of that? Who's going to go to ballet class? Because I'm a dance dad, very passionate about my daughter's ballet class on Saturday mornings at 9 in the morning, which you can imagine as a late night DJ is a bit of a stretch sometimes.
Mm-hmm. Yep.
But I'm also trying to integrate them into this too a little bit. Like, they're very passionate about it, and they love playing with daddy's records and playing with, it's a little stressful when they use the turntables, but they love playing the music with me. So I'm going to open that part of my life up to my children too.
I love that. And I love that you mentioned about your partner being supportive. I know we've talked behind the scenes about our partners and how, like, they're just so calm and collective and supportive, and like some of the most successful people I know in the industry have those types of partners. So it definitely gives me hope when I'm struggling.
Yeah, absolutely. A prime example is, and I was literally on the phone with him for like 45 minutes yesterday shooting the breeze about this very sort of subject, is somebody like Flipside and Miss Megs. You know, you've got a highly successful recording artist and DJ in Flipside. You've got an incredibly passionate, skilled DJ in Miss Megs, and their support of each other is an awesome thing, right? Because there's never any jealousy or anything like that. And it would be so easy for there to be jealousy. Mm-hmm. You know, even in our spouses too, like Sean and Emily are very understanding people in the fact that, yeah, look, we're going to be gone till 7 o'clock in the morning tonight. And, you know, you're going to put the kids to bed, and that's a lot to ask of a spouse. And I think it's inspiring when you see them, you know, that's a true partnership. It has to be a true partnership, because your success and your happiness is mine, so to speak. Right.
Absolutely. One of the other things that she supports you in, and I want to talk about, is the radio, because you've got a lot of experience in radio. People might be by listening to you talk, and you've got like the Mothership broadcast going on right now. Can you kind of give us a comparison of the then and now of radio? And
well, I can tell you when I got my bug. In 1994, Dr. Trance, the late Dr. Trance, had a radio show on 107.9, which was like the premier dance music station in Toronto. So, you know, my history is that I grew up in the Toronto scene, moved here to Winnipeg 3 years ago. So Dr. Trance's influence on me is exponential. If you look, there he is right there in that picture. And I remember sitting in the show going, oh, this is what I want to do. And then boom, registering for college and taking radio broadcasting for 2 years, and then realizing there's no money in it at all. And then bailing and going back to the career that I'm in now, which is construction related, we'll call it. But I got the bug, and I was like, okay, I need to do this. I want to do this. So my first opportunity to do this sort of thing was on a station called One Groove in Toronto, which was the very first of its kind, I'm pretty sure, dance music internet radio station. And I had a show called The Big and Hard Show on Friday nights, and it was myself. And then the show after me was Tacozy. And the show after that, I believe, was Dr. Trance, or that might have been flip-flopped with SOS as well in there. And that was a highly successful show. We had thousands and thousands of listeners, because at the time, there was nothing else like it. The change that I've seen now, and it's cool, is that anybody with a laptop can do this. I mean, the broadcast software is out there. We're using it right now, right? I mean, and it really is incredible, because it's giving people that would never really have that voice, whether it be musically or talk or whatever, this voice now that, you know, I can project how I feel about the world, and I can project what the music that I like, and maybe only a few hundred people are listening, but it's given people that voice. And that's what I love about the Mothership broadcast, because if you hear me play live, I don't really sound like that, but I have a passion for very psychedelic, trancey sort of music, you know, the deeper kind of trippier sounds, and it enables me that artistic outlet that I can't really always find at my gigs and stuff like that. So yeah, it's been neat to see it change. You know, for the good and for the bad. I think that it's saturated because of this. At the same time, there's so much content out there to wade through it is a massive undertaking, and you've almost got to kind of follow the breadcrumbs of other things you like to find shows that you're into. But for the most part, yeah, it's an inspirational change that's come now that everybody has their voice now. But I mean, I wanted to kick back to the rave scene part of that, like to say that is like in the beginning it was a secret for us. I didn't want anybody to know. But then I kind of did, and now I look back and I'm like, well, like the enormity of this music now is insane. When I started DJing in Toronto, there was 25 of us that played raves, maybe 20, 15 on the regular kind of thing. And now there's hundreds, and back to that, everybody having their voice, right? Like some DJ in Puckatawagan sitting in his parents' basement with a laptop can be a star now, because you just got to, your voice is there.
Yeah, speaking of stars, you are the stage manager, like of the main stage of Emotion this year.
Yeah, I played it last summer, and this is a high compliment I'm about to give it. It reminded me of WEMF. I was highly involved in the first few years of the World Electronic Music Festival in Toronto. I ran for 17 years. I ran stages. I assisted in many ways. And I went last year with you, and the whole time I'm walking around this festival, I'm thinking to myself, this is it. This is what it felt like in the very beginning, that grassroots sort of vibe. And the irony that the very first WEMF was hit by a horrible storm, and so was the first year of Emotion. And when they asked me to be a director this year and direct the main stage, I jumped at the opportunity. I'm a firm believer that you want your scene to grow, you want to do something, get involved, have a voice. Don't just, complain in the background. And I didn't have a lot of complaints, but there were some things that I thought they could have done better, and that we are going to do better this year. You can be two people. You can be, it's the old Bedrock song. You can be part of the solution, or you can be part of the problem. Well, I've decided that I'm going to be part of the solution, and we're going to take this thing to the next level this year. And I'm really, really excited at the people that are running this and doing this for the right reasons. And in a time where people are just throwing parties to throw parties, and people are just throwing these kind of festivals just to throw them because they think it's fun to do. These guys are doing it for the right reason. They're trying to expose people to new music. They're bringing in artists that aren't normally here. They're supporting artists that aren't normally coming into our area, so to speak. And I think that there's nothing but growth there. There really isn't. They've got an incredible venue that offers a little something for everybody. And I'm really, really excited at what we've got coming up this year. And no, I won't tell you.
Okay, all right. I was gonna say, is there anything?
I can say that you and I are definitely playing that party, but I'm not quite at liberty. I will say that there's a couple artists that are going to be playing there this year. I'm really excited about having back in Manitoba that were really impactful the last time they were here. So yeah, you can guess. If you know me well enough, you can probably guess some of it. I mean, I always like to get my friends from Toronto involved with this, so I've got one in particular that's going to be good. It's going to be a really good summer.
Yeah, that festival, I've been to lots of different parties and festivals over the years, and it just felt different. It felt warm and inviting, and maybe it was the fact that I went with somebody super cool, so being with the right people helped, but just
absolutely, yeah, absolutely. And I know there were some people that didn't that the weather bugged them, and there was talk of poison ivy and bugs and stuff like that. But
what, at a festival?
Yeah, right. At an outdoor camping festival, there was bugs. Of course, there was going to be bugs. But yeah, I agree too. The energy backstage, front of house, it doesn't really matter. The energy was phenomenal. Like it was, I think back to that one moment on the main stage when there was like 20 DJs on the stage. It was like Monkey Twerk, we're over here, and Father Funk was playing, and it was a great party. Like we were just having a really good time, and that means something to me, and that's something that I'm willing to invest my time and my energy and my passion into. And I hope everybody watching can come at some point because it's a good one. It really is.
It is. It's amazing. So I'm curious, is there maybe a time in your career that really stands out to you where you learned a surprising lesson?
Yeah, I mean, the big lesson I take, and if you know me, you know that one of the biggest influences in my life, whether it be DJing or otherwise, was Don Burns' Dr. Trance. And one of the things that I think he taught us was to not take this too seriously. That this is meant to be fun, and it's not, and don't take yourself too seriously either. And I think the guys that if you look at the guys that have had the longevity, the guys like myself that are 25-year veterans that have not really ever stopped playing, maybe I haven't blown up like some of my friends, but I'll never stop DJing. I always use the joke that just because you're not in a band doesn't mean you stop playing your guitar, right? I mean, I'll always do this. Guys like Flipside, Nat and I are very good friends. Mike O'Howe, Preston Zane, those guys have been in this for so long. Carlo, Joey Cons, all those things. I mean, I know I'm talking about a lot of Toronto guys, but that's where I'm from, right? These guys that have been in it, Evan G, throwing parties for 20 years. Like, the reason we're all still able to do this is we don't take ourselves or what we're doing too seriously. We're passionate about it. We're dedicated to it. But at the end of the day, it's got to be fun. And if you're not having fun, why are you doing it? Like, if you're not enjoying what you're doing, why are you doing it? And I look out there and I see a lot of these kids that, they want the likes and they want the love and they want the acceptance. Well, the moment that stops being important, the moment that you realize that none of that really matters, is this like kind of awakening within yourself that I don't really care if you like me. I'm more concerned that I like what I'm doing and that I'm happy with what I'm doing, and the rest of it will come. If you're happy with you and what you're doing and you're in a good place mentally, those likes and that love and that respect, that comes. You don't have to beg for it. It'll come. People see that you're on a good trip. People see that you've got good vibes and that you're projecting that to the world around you, and they're attracted to it. You don't need to beg them to come to you. And I think that's really my big lesson from 25 years of raving and 30 years of DJing is just don't take it too seriously. Have a good time.
Just have a good time.
Just have a good time, right? It just doesn't matter. I recently watched, and if you get a chance, you should check it out. There's a Bill Murray documentary on Netflix. And he's not really in it, but it's about a guy that follows him. And they kind of analyze why Bill Murray just keeps showing up places. Like at a house party in New Orleans, he just walks in and starts doing the dishes and shit like that, right? Excuse me. And the reality is he's just, it just doesn't matter. If he's walking by this house and it looks interesting, well, I'm going to do it. If, yeah. And that's really, none of this really matters. It's all, what really matters is this, like my family and you, my friendships and stuff like that. That's the stuff that you should be cared about working on in your art. The rest will come organically if it's meant to come.
Yeah. Oh, I agree 100%. And I know I haven't always been in that mindset. But one example for me is like when I first started making videos, I got like maybe 7 views. 3 of them were probably me checking if I had more views.
Yeah.
And I was like, okay, well, I'm just going to have to get to the point where I realize maybe no one's going to watch this. So just keep making them. And then DJ Spotlight's like, look, we got the audience. Come make them for us. I'm like, oh, okay. Well, I'm glad I kept making them. And now I'm interviewing my friend here.
Right?
Yeah.
That's it. Just let it come. If it's meant to come, it's meant to come. It's such a crapshoot now over who blows up in this industry. It really is. Like, I grew up in the same scene, I grew up with Joel Deadmau5, right? And it's like, what did Joel do that everybody else did? Joel is dedicated to his passion. He's an incredibly skilled guy in the studio. But really, it was just a crapshoot that somebody heard the right song at the right time for him, right? And that's all it is now. So you just got to make sure you're doing this for the right reason. And I think you're doing this for the right reason. You're doing this because you don't really have a choice. You have to. It's who you are.
Yep. I can't help it. And I think there's a lot of DJs out there that will lose sight of that because they'll be so worried on building content. And then they like do a radio show and they're like, oh yeah, this is why I'm doing it. Because I love to DJ or I love to make music. And then they don't care if they're playing to 2 people or 40 people or whatever.
Doesn't matter.
Yeah.
Yeah, it really doesn't. And you know what, to speak on that, it's harder to play for 40 people than it is to play for 4,000. I mean, I was very lucky to be part of the Toronto rave scene at the initial explosion. I've played for, 6,000-7,000 people in an airplane hangar and all that stuff. And I'll tell you what, it's way easier to do that than it is to play for 40 people in a nightclub. And it's funny that I say that because when Gene Ferris was here a few weeks ago, him and I talked about that very fact. You get lost as long as the music's good with thousands and thousands of people. But when you can make eye contact with everybody you're playing for, that's where the skill comes in. That's where working that dance floor comes in.
Yeah. I think that's what I love about playing at Footwork, because it's a more intimate setting. I can see people.
Yeah,
I can hear them.
It is easily one of my favorite places to DJ. It is because of that very fact that they are right there in front of you. There's no escaping. If you muff that mix, everybody in the room knows you did. Expression on your face, right? I mean, it is. It's good. And the Winnipeg, to speak on the Winnipeg scene for a second too. There's a lot of really talented DJs here, a lot of really passionate DJs here. A huge female DJ scene represented here. I mean, I've heard some people bitch about it. There's a lot of skilled female DJs in Toronto, but on a scale to the population, there is a large amount of very skilled ladies in the scene here in Winnipeg. And I call most of my friends, yourself included, Shael, Elfast, you've got Innocent Gun coming up. You've got little young Kelly, State of Mind. There's so many. And that's outside of the fact that there's been a long-standing history of that in this town too. I mean, this scene has always seemed to have one or two really good female DJs in it, right? And it's one of the things I like about it here is there's no boundaries here. There's no a lot of guys, a lot of girls. It's just everybody's at it, right? And I like that.
Yeah, absolutely. So speaking on shows, are there any things coming up as we come to the end of this interview? Is there anything that you think people should know about this maybe coming up for you, stuff that you're going to be involved with?
Yeah, there's a few things coming up. There's the 1 year anniversary. I'm not sure when this will air, but the 1 year anniversary of Footwork opening up. I'm not actually playing at the party at the club that weekend, but I am making my return to Underground Revival.
Yes.
It's been over a year since I played the warehouse space, and I have been convinced, and I will be playing at the after party to I don't even know if that party's announced yet, but to the February 2nd, I will be playing the after party at Underground Revival with a very special guest. And once the flyer comes out, you'll figure out who's playing with me. I'm pretty sure 2 + 2 = 4, right? And then, as you mentioned, we've got both the Mimetic and the Emotion festivals here this summer, which I'm always try to be involved a little bit with the Mimetic team to help things go along there. And but my passion, my energy is going into Emotion this year. I really want to push that. I've got some great ideas that they're really, really open to. Excuse me, and I love doing lineups, and they've asked me to do the lineup for the main stage. It's one of my favorite things is that programming, right? It's just like building a set, essentially is building that atmosphere on the stage. So yeah, and do it with techno.
Yes.
Yeah, I'm going to help do it with techno again this year. I thought I wasn't going to, but Lauren, I love Lauren, and she's an amazing person, and you and I are going to help her. I just haven't told you yet. I
love her.
We're going to help her do it. We had such a good time last year. Best mid-set sandwich I've ever had in my life.
Oh, my God.
That's a whole other story.
So for those of you that know me, I only allow myself to have one hangover a year. Whoops. That was fun though. There was some
That was a lot of fun. That was a lot of fun. So yeah, I'm looking forward to that. Like I said, this year especially is going to be more about quality over quantity for me as far as gigs go. I am going to push the show quite a bit. The Mothership broadcast. I've gone to, originally I was going to do once a month, but yeah, I've had some really good success. We've made it into the top 10 on the techno chart on Mixcloud, 5 of the 6 episodes so far. So I'm going to go bi-weekly. So every other week, and you never know, maybe I'll go weekly if I get enough music. But yeah, so that's really it. Like I said, it's more of a quality over quantity year for me.
I can totally appreciate that. And I want to thank you so much, not just for doing this interview today, but all of the amazing things that you've done for our local scene here in Winnipeg. You came in and it was just so refreshing and different and positive. And I feel like people like yourself, people like DJ May, Wanda G, y'all are just bringing something new to the table that Winnipeg has really needed. And yeah, I'm just so privileged to be your friend. I love it. So
I can't be any other way. That's the problem I have. I'm as Madame Zhu used to say, you're full on, right? I'm either all the way in or I'm all the way out. So you got me now. You're stuck with me. I'm not going anywhere. So yeah, I'm a Winnipeg scene guy now, I guess.
Yeah, love it. For the rest of y'all that were tuned in to this episode, was there anything that you heard that really stood out to you? Maybe you feel inspired and you want to go out and start doing your own podcast. Let us know in the comments below. And as always, don't let no one kill your vibes.